Well, UNICEF has launched the second phase of the Bring Back Our Childhood campaign to raise awareness of the impact of Boko Haram violence in Nigeria and Lake Chad region. Well, the number of children involved in suicide attacks in Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad and Niger has risen sharply over the past year, from 4 in 2014 to 44 in 2015, according to UNICEF data released this week. More than 75% of the children involved in the attacks are girls. 2 years ago, over 200 schoolgirls were abducted in Chibok, northeastern Nigeria, sparking a global movement demanding their return. Today, more than 1.3 million children have been uprooted by Boko Haram insurgency. Mr. Laurent Duvillier is the spokesperson for UNICEF's West and Central African region. He's on the line now from Dakar, Senegal. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for your time on the News Today desk.
Good afternoon.
Beyond Chibok, the report, speak to us of the impact of the Boko Haram insurgency on children in the region right now.
Well, what we can clearly see is that there is a growing number of people that are fleeing the Boko Haram violence. It's one of the fastest growing displacement crises in Africa. Over the past 2 years, the Boko Haram violence has triggered massive displacement of over 2.3 million children across 4 countries, not just Nigeria, but also Niger, Cameroon, and Chad. So in just 1 year, the number of children uprooted by the crisis has increased by over 60%, from 800,000 last year, just a year ago, and now today 1.3 million children that tonight will sleep away from home because of the violence.
Laurent, what are some of the trends we're seeing when it comes to suicide attacks and the use of girl children in particular?
Well, it's alarming. It's an alarming trend. We see that the child bombing attacks are on the rise in Nigeria, but more surprisingly also in Cameroon. Over the past year, the estimated number of bombing attacks in northeast Nigeria and the neighboring countries has increased sharply, as did the proportion of attacks involving children, sometimes as young as 8-year-old. And again, let's put this into perspective. About a year ago, only Nigeria was affected by child suicide bombing attacks. But now Cameroon and Chad, and increasingly Cameroon, is affected. So it's extremely alarming. We see that this very vicious tactic is spreading across the region and very contagious for the neighboring countries. The use of children, especially girls, in so-called suicide bombers has now become one of the defining and most alarming features of the conflict.
This is one of Africa's fastest growing displacement crises, but response to the crisis is still underfunded. Very quickly, how much do you need and what exactly are you asking for to alleviate this crisis?
UNICEF faced a critical funding shortfall. This year, we have only received a fraction, 11 million of the 97 million US dollar needed for humanitarian response in the Lake Chad region, covering Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, and Chad. And this year, we are calling for an increased funding to provide protection, but also access to education, water, and therapeutic feeding for the malnourished children.
Mr. Laurent Duvillier is the spokesperson for UNICEF's West and Central African region. Thank you so much for your time. He's speaking to us there on the line from Dakar in Senegal.